I think a round robin is very interesting because there's a lot of teams that can either go out or in to the tournament, and you're gonna play different teams, and then you're gonna be like, we need to beat at least 2, most likely, to get through, and you need to beat one of the strongest teams in the group. So I really like robin.
Playoff, coming to you live from Los Angeles. I'm Rachel, alongside Mr. DJ Woods.
Thank you, Rachel. For our next match, we have CLG EU going up against the Saigon Jokers. And you know what? Another match that has a lot of implications on who may move on. So let's bring out the teams. First up, playing as the red team, an internationally popular team out to make their mark on the global stage. Please welcome back to the stage, Counter Logic Gaming Europe.
About that post. Next up, playing as the blue team, carrying the hopes of Vietnam, please welcome back the Saigon Jokers. With so much on the line, this game is of huge importance. So now it's time to hand it over to Jat and Demon to take us through it.
Yeah, thank you very much, Rachel and DJ Weed. Of course, you know, it's awesome to see DJ Weed. I've been saying it all day, but it is awesome to see him here. We're happy to be back, and we are into the final games of Group B. Coming up now, CLG versus Saigon Jokers. We've just seen Saigon Jokers pull out a surprise against Dignitas.
I'm going to be honest here. Coming into this tournament, I was expecting Saigon Jokers to fall 0-3. And I was expecting maybe Dignitas to battle CLGU for this next spot. But based on the first few games we've seen in this group, CLGU got obliterated by Sword.
Absolutely.
Saigon Jokers lost to Sword, but not as badly as CLGU. And now with both of them picking up victories against Dignitas, you really have to question whether CLG is going to make it out of this group.
This is suddenly a very close game. It's a do-or-die game, certainly for both teams, you know. But it's not potentially over for Dignitas just yet. There's a chance. There's a chance if Najin Sword were to lose, which would be a crazy one in itself.
Dignitas would have to beat Najin Sword.
Yeah, it would have to be 1-2 situation across the board. You know, we'd have to have Najin Sword 3-0. I don't know how it's working.
Someone on the
this
internet,
is why you're here.
Someone on the internet will explain this for us, and then they can tell everyone.
We can tell everyone, but nevertheless, CLG versus Saigon Jokers, it's a big, important game, and it was good to have a chat with the guys. So as we're reaching the end of the day here on the Season 2 playoffs, we've witnessed some absolutely, truly incredible team fights, and honestly, there's really been some crazy fights in there. A lot of them was the AD carry that stole the show, of course, but it's easy to forget those AD carries would not be as impressive without their world-class supports. Whether it's a perfectly landed solo ult or a defensive save from an Alistair, let's take a look at the moments from those supports and how they make the magic happen.
Hey guys, my name is Mitch. In-game name I'm also known as Crepo, and I'm the support player for CLGU.
I'm Vitaly, and I'm the support player for Team Dignitas.
Man, wrong.
I'm Mix Special, play for Team Soul Mid, and I play support.
Basically, some people say support does nothing.
It's probably the bottom of the totem pole.
I'm the best player in the world. My team's trash. Keep telling yourself that.
I think it depends on the team, whether people kind of clown on their support or not.
Support is somewhat difficult. It's just we just insult him a lot, so it makes him feel like he isn't doing anything. He's actually doing a lot.
Support's job is to to do the roles that nobody else on the team is willing to do.
He brings a lot of good morale. Like if you kill someone, he's like, "Good job, you did a great job today."
I think support players are a fundamental role in the team.
He's got to pick up the scraps for everyone else.
Support's all about doing as much as you can with as little as you have.
The support player needs to help the AD carry in lane, but also he needs overview of all the gaming.
He's most important person on our team.
I think one of the better support players out there, knowledge-wise, is definitely Shuster.
I like Creepo. I think Gozu Pepper is one of the best. I like Gozu Pepper. Special is a great support. And I like Special.
Mad Life is a really good support as well.
The most obvious other good support player is Mad Life. One support player that kind of caught our eye in Korea was a guy called Mad Life.
我觉得在那个他卷毛是刚刚进队伍的新队员，他最近的进步很让我们惊异，我觉得非常不错。
What do you guys have to say about me?
He's not as good as Lucas.
Yeah, I think every support player on most of the teams here is really exceptional. I mean, it is the World Championships. We have some of the best teams from around the globe here, and I'm pretty sure people in every lane can contend for like world's greatest in these games.
It's great to see what some of those players feel about their supports. We've talked about how good they were, and we were singing Kane's praises earlier on with those flash crescendos. These support players, they really make things happen.
They make things happen, and it's not a knock to say they're doing things that the rest of the team doesn't want to. Buying wards, giving your life to create a team fight with a flash crescendo or something like that can turn the tides of a game. So even special words of encouragement can help out a bit.
Indeed. So without further ado, let's look at what the keys to the game are for CLG EU. What have they got to do against Saigon Jokers here, knowing that Saigon Jokers have just beaten Dignitas?
Really, CLG EU needs to make sure they keep their farm up. They can't get starved like they did in that game against Najin Sword. They went for a super late game team comp and just forgot about the early mid game. They also have to be adaptive because that's something that happened in their defeat already, is they didn't adjust to what Najin Sword was doing to them. They did it very well in their victory against Dignitas. They adjusted to the cheese strategy very quickly. If they can do that again, they'll have a pretty good shot against the Jokers. And really, Snoopé has to control the tempo for them. When he's out there ganking, making things happen, it works. But when they get their buff stolen, when they get pushed around by Najin Sword because Snoopé's not getting things done, it just doesn't work out for them.
Well, the problem with Najin Sword was they got absolutely destroyed in that bottom lane. It was not a pretty sight. And it was interesting to see, we luckily got the chance to talk to the CLG earlier on, and they were talking about how it really went wrong, and it was just that bottom lane snowballed away from them. And then, well, we saw McNoon just having his way with them effectively.
Even Wicked said Sword didn't play that well. I mean, obviously, Wicked never gives his opponents any credit. But
play that well.
It was actually them
or something.
just playing more poorly. Like, they threw the bottom lane. They didn't roam properly. They just didn't do the things that they were supposed to do.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's what CLG have got to do. Let's take a look at what Saigon Jokers have got to do against CLG.
So no one gave the Saigon Jokers really any chance coming into this. One of the big keys for them is they just have to settle into the game. Right now, they came in with this. No one gave them a chance. They didn't think they had what it takes, but they just beat Dignitas worse than CLG EU beat Dignitas, to be quite fair. So that's got to give them a lot of confidence. And in the end of that last game, we saw Archie getting that quadra kill on Ezreal. He's really solid on that champion. If they can get him going, these late game teamfights that CLG likes to push for, having a Fed 80 carry is the most important thing in those situations.
Yeah, and we just saw it. They got to fight frequently. We saw how often they were fighting at Dignitas.
That's what they do when they're playing well. They're not typically a team that knows how to stall. They don't have all the tactics and training that CLG EU has, but what they can do is they can create action. They can try to get kills. They can pull off good ganks. They had really good coordination on some of those Malphite Leona combos. If they do that stuff to CLG EU here, they would have a chance to move on in this group.
It's all about that crazy level 1 team fight as well. We were talking to Crepo earlier on about that level 1 fight. We saw it earlier on. Saigon Jokers, having that crazy level 1 fight. Well, we heard it. We knew it happened. Let's put it that way, because we were off getting some liquids. Liquid refreshments is not a bad thing. We have been here. This is now the 11th game of the day here. And if you've been with us all day long, so, all credit to you guys for joining us. We are getting into the picks and bans, though, so without further ado, let's have a look at those. And immediately, Saigon Jokers, they didn't really need to do the homework too heavily against CLG. They knew what to ban. They've taken out Anivia, Diana, and Alistair. Diana ban does surprise me, because I wasn't that impressed with Froggen's Diana.
They really just watched what other teams do, it almost seems, and then they probably watched a few of the OGN games, maybe saw that Froggen was playing Diana. I gotta agree with you there. Froggen's Diana has not impressed me in the past. What they have learned, though, is that Jace is a solid pick. They won the game with Jace very well. they got obliterated by Mackin's Jace, so they might as well keep it for themselves, and that's a really solid first pick. Picks and bans going out. Big thing there is Archie is no longer going to be able to play Ezreal. We'll see if he can adapt on something else.
Yeah, so CLG doing their homework. Also taking out Skarner as well. That's an interesting one because obviously the Saigon Jokers did that video and he did talk about Skarner in that. So Aurelia possibly being picked up for Wicked here this time around. Keeping something simple. So Aurelia versus Jace, that's an interesting one straight away. Are they looking at changing these lanes around?
So I don't think they are. Wicked has played Aurelia more than, I'm going to say, anyone in the competitive scene, maybe in the world, because he started off definitely in tournaments. Yeah. So even though a lot of people pick Jace against Aurelia to bully, maybe that's just what Wicked wants. Maybe he just wants to pick what's comfortable to him. This is something that CLG EU does more so than other teams, is they will just pick comfort champs and then just go with it. So they get the Sona, which has been crushing so far, and they get the Aurelia, and they're just leaving it with that.
Yeah, and Sona is definitely one of those champions to pick from. Morgana making an appearance possibly for the first time today, I believe.
And it's strange because Morgana was everywhere at the North American regionals. That was at least Jackie played a bunch of that, and Reginald plays as well, who we'll see tomorrow in the semifinals. And that's a good pick for them if they want to create and they want to get kills. Nothing starts a team fight better than Morgana flashing in, ulting, or even just landing a Dark Binding and chaining everything off of that. So with Saigon Joker's strategy of just trying to fight frequently, that's going to be really effective for them.
So are we going to see something that CLG are comfortable with, or are they going to go with something a little bit different? I expect them to play pretty standard. I've got to be honest.
They got to go really standard with this one.
And we talked about it with Dignitas. We were watching the game against Saigon Jokers. If they'd have played standard, should have came out better.
It's really strange because coming into the tournament, Dignitas was so confident that the roam strategy with the mixed up lanes was going to catch everyone by surprise. And then they also said, even once people figure it out, you need a lot of games before you can play against it, was what their motto that was saying. Something did get a little bit leaked about that strategy, so teams did know it was coming, and they adapted to it immediately. CLG EU knew pretty much exactly what to do against it. Saigon Jokers had the answer as well, and it really ended up biting Dignitas a bit, I think. Going away from the standard picks, here we see Kog'Maw and Maokai coming up. Back to that Kog'Maw and Yellow P. He is really wicked with that. Wicked dives in on Aurelia, pushes out. They got the fall back with Froggen's ultimate, so that's going to be solid here.
Yeah, absolutely, and obviously the Nunu Kaylin mix-up down that bottom lane. We're assuming it's going to be the bottom lane. They do tend to switch lanes now and again, but we'll just call it the bottom as is. And there is Karthus once again for Froggen. Very strong champion for him. Absolutely carried his way through DreamHack on Karthus until, in fact, throughout the final as well. I think he caught Moscow 5 off guard as well. And Moscow 5 were not prepared for that one, apart from obviously the Anivia. But Anivia just can't get played by him anymore. So frankly, I mean, CLG going with pretty standard picks there. So, Saigon Jokers, they've just done it. The confidence is going to be high. They've just beaten Dignitas. This is a do-or-die game for both teams right now. I mean, CLG are going to be becoming confident in this. They're going to feel, okay, no problem. But after seeing Dignitas just go down to Saigon Jokers, they've got to realize, actually, this is a pretty damn serious match.
I think the serious level of CLG went way up. You even saw just by the way they came out at the start.
Yeah, no
previous games they were holding Wicked or Froggen, making a big show of it. Now they're focused. Sure, they were still together, hugging each other, but at that moment you realized it's game time, because if they lose to the Saigon Jokers, who have now shown themselves to be a legitimate threat, Season 2 is over for them. They'd be out of it.
It would be. And that is a scary, scary prospect, isn't it? So, ladies and gentlemen, we are just going to get underway, ladies and gentlemen. So, what do we think? What do we think, Jad? Which way are you going to go with this one? Which way are you swinging?
Just based on the comfort picks of CLG EU right now and the fact that we have huge underdogs in the Saigon Jokers, Karthus Froggen, Snoopy Maokai, Wicked Aurelia, it's hard to go wrong with those picks for them. That's the way they're feeling. I do give them a slight edge.
You did give them the slight edge. What do you guys think at home, though? CLG versus Saigon Jokers. If you want to see Saigon Jokers carry on what they just did against Dignitas and pick up 2-1, give them a shout.
If you guys want to see CLG EU take the series to 2-1 and keep themselves alive in Season 2, let me hear you.
It's a fair mix between the two, but ladies and gentlemen, we are getting into the game without further ado. If you are just tuning in, you are missing some absolutely epic matches throughout the day. Saigon Jokers are going to be playing in the blue side and CLG as the red. Will we see anything crazy from these teams to start with? It's looking like a standard European setup with no level 1 engages. but let's not get carried away just yet.
Some of these teams could be a little bit spent. They've both just played 2 games in the group stage, some of the highest intensity matches of their lives. If they had the secrets a lot of times, they would have pulled it out against Najin's Sword. Right now, both teams actually going fully defensive formations, as you can see. Really, they're all just matching up straight against each other in a lot of these ways, just guarding against invades. It doesn't look like any of these guys are going to try something. Maybe Crepo and Yellow Pete would invade, but it's very, very unlikely. Both these teams really just playing it safe.
Well, honestly, they're both pretty weak level 1 fights. Nyx Water is obviously going to have the Morgana Dark Bindings to just try and catch people out. You could have the taunt in there, so you could keep someone relatively stuck for a while. In fact, long enough that the Caitlyn trap could probably trigger under their feet. So Cyclone Joker's probably with a stronger level 1 fight, but they don't really want to go for this one. They don't want to play anything. And is that too dangerous? Is that playing too cautious against CLG? Is that just respecting your enemy too much?
I think that's a really poor decision for Saigon Jokers if they're going to be cautious against CLG EU. CLG is the most cautious team. They just wait for other teams to try to do things. And if Saigon Jokers is cautious, I don't think they're going to be able to outfarm CLG EU. They're not going to be able to out-late game. They have to start making action. Obviously, the level 1 can't really fault them for not going, but if that's the motto they have for the rest of the game, it's going to get them in trouble.
So, looking like the blue buff going to be given across to...
They're giving the blue buff to Froggen again as Maokai gets the early gank. So, sorry, early red buff. Looks like Snoopy might just try a very early level 2 up on Jace. They should see this coming, though. If they know Froggen has the blue, then they realize the Snoopy had to have started red, and they'd be looking for the gank in top lane.
Yeah, so Snoopy making his way around there. There's QTV. He's very close to that bush. He could get a twisted advance on him right now. He is going to dive into it. Gets the twisted advance. Gets the knock-up. We'd already got the level 2. QCB should go down here. It's going to be first blood. There it is. It's Wicked that picks it up. And first blood going down straight off the bat there. 2.5 minutes into this game.
Snoopy ganks have to pull off there, controlling the tempo of the match. They passed the blue buff off, and it's not going to set Snoopy behind because he got so much experience from that lane, and with the kill, he's already hit level 3, so it's like he got the experience from blue, as well as giving Froggen a vast advantage onto Nyx Water in mid lane. It's also good that Snoopy's on Maokai because the last time they passed the blue buff off onto Karthus, he was on Shyvana, who, even though he's not mana dependent, really relies on farm, and he ended up playing it sort of the same way, and he ended up kind of being useless on Shyvana in a lot of ways. Maokai has enough utility in his kit and with his ultimate that you can defer all of that farm to Karthus and not be punished nearly as bad.
So we're seeing Aurelia immediately return to lane. Look at that. Wicked just returned into lane. 3 minutes in, he's already got Ninja Tabi on. He's bought a bunch of health pots, puts a ward down. He is safe for the game.
When Aurelia gets ahead in the lane, especially Wicked's Aurelia, he punishes. You can look at this creep wave that QTV has in the top lane. It's larger than Wicked's. He's going to let that push to his tower, and then he's going to try to freeze it there and just deny him for the rest of the game.
As it is down the bottom there, Archie and Junie, well, Junie was stood on top of that ward, and you can see Wicked again going aggressive on QTV, and QTV needs to be careful, he doesn't overstretch here. Wicked will certainly know the full limits that he can push Aurelia to. And as you go, there's that huge creep wave that you talked about.
Soon QTV won't be able to get experience. That's going to push through Wicked's lane. Snoopy could potentially come up again, and if he tries to get creeps, he's going to die. And other than that, he's just denied. That's how Wicked plays Aurelia. Great early gank, and he's really going to try to punish him for that.
Can he just sit on that lane? Snoopy is going to come around. Is he going to try and sneak in towards the top bush? Has he got vision? Just about. Look at that. Ninja.
And look, Wicked is holding the creep wave really far up so that Snoopy can get in that brush. And you can see that QTV has called for help in this lane because Shen is on his way up, so Violet is there with the double buffs. This is very well going to be a 2v2 because both members are going to try to fight each other. There's a big enough creep wave with Shen has double buffs. They could turn this.
And there goes the diving in. There goes the Violet taunt. Will it be enough? Wicked actually taken pretty low. Get a QTV trying to put the damage down. So Wicked will get dropped. That has turned out very nicely for Singapore Sentinels, Saigon Jokers. Where that even came from. That's how much I expected them to be here, but they are turning it very well. Saigon Jokers really making a fantastic representation of themselves here. And CLG, after what was such a massively strong advantage, has turned straight away.
I gotta be honest, Wicked was too obvious with their play there. There was no reason he would farm the wave so far in the middle other than to allow Snoopy into that lane. They knew he was waiting there, and they went up with the explicit point of winning a 2v2. That was a very telegraphed play by CLG, which was beautifully countered by the Saigon Jokers.
They were ready for that one. We saw Archie nearly getting caught out there. Bottom lane. As it is, they're going to continue it. See, Shen was up that top lane, just helping out, get them kills, so immediately giving across his golems to Archie. Archie going to help out there. The Blood Boil is going to be such a huge advantage as well for Archie late game compared to Yellow Pete. However, Crepo, we've seen how strong and how favoritized Sona's going to be late game. And if he can land that ulti, it just turns things. We saw it with Kane. Kane's really... I'm going to go so far as to say whoever gets Kane in the quarterfinals, and I'm expecting
you
them
have
to
take Sona away from him or ban.
Take Sona away. It's an actual proper ban now.
Take a look at that bottom lane in particular with the Nunu Caitlyn matched up against Yellow Pete's Kog'Maw and Crepo's Sona. You're going to see it's actually a fairly close lane so far. 43 minions to 43 minutes, dead even. The Nunu Caitlyn lane is something I'm surprised we haven't seen more of in the past. It's really high range, but also combined with huge amounts of late game DPS because the Blood Boil just multiplies her damage so well. Normally, people say Caitlyn's low in damage, but she has a bunch of range. Now, with Nunu, it's safety and range. And here comes Violet for another gank on Wicked.
Yeah, Wicked is just about getting away from the taunt there. Dashing across, quite happy. Snoopy's going to stand on that ward. They know exactly where he is. I mean, Shen is free to now go for the golems. That was, you can see the exact position. He's going to go straight across towards those golems now. Or is he going to go for another tower dive? You can see Wicked getting aggressive on QTV. Actually just got knocked away, flashed away from that taunt. Good use of that ability. Really saving his own bacon there.
You can actually see in that top lane, QTV warded the brush that Maokai had snuck into before. So that tells me that Violet no longer, at least once he leaves for the first time, will want to go back to that lane. They're warding in preparation.
Sitting on that top lane. This is what we talked about against CLG. You have to count Wicked out, and that's what they're trying to do. Violet trying to get in there again and just missing that full long-range taunt. It's something that we saw when we watched the Southeast Asian finals. We saw just how long he landed those full taunts. It was QTV that was playing Shen at the time.
When they play Shen, it seems a lot of people go for the flash close-range taunt. These Saigon Jokers actually like just the max-range long taunts, which against really highly reactive players like Wicked can get flashed out in those situations, and you don't necessarily land them as reliably.
It is at the moment that bottom lane. Let's have a look how it's working in CS. Top lane is 45 to 28. That's actually a big advantage for Wicked right now, and that's because he held that lane and his tower for so long, so he's just been able to farm it out no problem. Meanwhile, down the bottom lane, it's 60 CS to 62, very even between Yellow Pete and Archie right now. Obviously, you wouldn't expect the supposed to be picking anything up, but that mid lane, 78-86, that is good work, I gotta be honest, from Nixwater, keeping it with Froggen, which is some mean farmer.
When you add on top of that Froggen had blue buff at level 1,
yeah,
and Nixwater really hasn't had any help from external sources. He's doing a great job just farming and keeping up with Froggen. And it's not even just a Froggen versus Nixwater matchup, it's a Karthus matchup, because Karthus traditionally gets more minions than every other middle laner. So really, you gotta hand it to Saigon Jokers here. They're coming out pretty strong. Small gold disadvantage early, but they're right in this game.
So on target to hit over 100 before 10 minutes, no problem for Froggen. Standard play. Down that bottom lane we are seeing Nunu returning. Let's see what they are picking up. In terms of AD, I mean, how would you really build? I mean, for Wicked as well, we saw Wicked obviously building in the last one. He went for Trinity Force, probably going to go that way this time as well. But we also saw McNoon playing a very different Jace.
At least for Wicked, he's going to be going for that early phage, I'm pretty sure. With how pushed the lane is constantly against QTV and how Wicked loves to try to freeze, it just combos well with Snoopy's ganks. Good binding there, trying to stop Froggen from getting the blue, but he's just not able to stop that blue wraith. And with this top lane, once again, Violet coming up to try to assist Wicked. This is the only lane he's been going to. Wicked just always seemingly close to his tower, though, so it's very hard to turn something around on him.
Yeah, we also seen Snoopy heading down to the south. He needs to be careful here. Oh, he's going to ulti on that lane, which tells me he's going to back off, but he's ultiing back on top of that ward. Are they going to maybe try and stretch for this one? Nope, Violet's just going to let him go, and he's just going to go back about farming his merry way. Have a look at these teams. I mean, how are you looking at late game? I mean, we always know CLG go for that late game comp. Have they got that big advantage right now? It is still very even. The gold is very even. It's 1-1 in kills. We're 10 minutes in.
So CLG EU's late game is actually working out quite well. This is the same thing they had against Dignitas. Yellow Pete has enough threat in front of him that he's fairly hard to dive. Wicked will get going. He's going to be jumping in and trying to disrupt Saigon Joker's damage, which in itself protects Yellow Pete. Froggen is also incredibly hard. If you're diving onto a Karthus and Kog'Maw, that's two super high priority targets that you can't necessarily kill both of them especially considering Saigon Joker's AoE is only, Morgana and Jace might not necessarily be enough to take out both of them. Saigon Jokers does have to move quickly because those late game team fights, there will be too many threats coming out from CLG EU to really win.
So as it stands, 72 to 48 CS, that's still a big gap on that top lane. Now seeing Sona just keeping, where's Kripo going? He's just trying to ward up the dragon, as you'd expect. No early dragons. We've not seen an early dragon at all, I don't think, throughout this tournament. Even the teams that have had the huge advantages, they've not been going for the early dragons. Definitely a thing that's changed around. So QTV trying to go for that.
Teams in general have gotten a lot better as Wicked tries to train down QTV and just pushing advantages off of towers. So what happens a lot of the time is you trade a dragon for a tower, as CLG is going for it here, but they're not going to have to trade a tower for this. And then after they get the tower, they'll be able to snowball that to many more things. So the dragon is not necessarily as important, but if such a golden opportunity opens like this for CLGU, where both Saigon Joker's bot laners and the mid lane went back, it's just a free dragon, and there's no reason not to take it.
So, first dragon of the game, giving the gold advantage to CLG, and Wicked continuing to push the pressure on towards QTV. So, neither top laners are removed from that one. Wicked needs to be careful once again. You can see Violet trying to get into that. Did he get in the vision there? I'm not too sure whether he was spotted. I'm guessing, judging by Wicked's movement, I don't think he was. Now he's going to go in there, and again, flashes away from the taunt and stuns him on the turret there. And here comes the ultimate coming out from Carthus. Is it going to be enough? Oh, Wicked diving straight on that one. You can see the AP coming on. Can he go to Violet? I don't think he's going to be able to track it down. Wicked playing that one absolutely superb. The teamwork involved there was fantastic.
This is reminding me a little bit of Shy's top lane action in Group 1, where they spent the entire game with two members up there trying to shut him down, and he really just enabled him and powered up to just take them on. Obviously, Froggen's Karth assault was very clutch there, but Wicked, with all the attention that Saigon Jokers has put up there, for him to still be 40 mini kills ahead of Jace is incredible. He got that very first early gank, but then was turned around. Since then, he's just been playing extremely solid and smart, and finally turned that around. He's got a big lead in that lane now.
A big, big lead, and he's going to go back and spend some of that much earned gold. Remember, he had that Ninja Tabby very early on. We're seeing a Brutalizer possibly coming out from Jace, meanwhile, but hasn't quite got it. We're seeing a possible bottom dive here. Saigon Jokers wanted to go for that one, but they just didn't get close enough. CLG were well on top of it. Obviously, they were stood on top of this ward in the bush here, so they knew exactly what was coming. So that was a three-man attempt wasted, effectively. And a lot of time wasted by the mid lane. You can see Morgana returning. 135 CS to 153. So Froggen winning out, and of course picking up the assist on the back of that one, stretching that slight gold lead. He's got a lot of ages in there, looking like possibly a very early Zhonya's for Morgana instead.
And let's be fair, what Froggen's doing to get ahead in these mini kills, he's also taking more neutral camps than Morgana is. Snoopy just gives up as many minions as possible to Karthus, so he's doing a great job of just farming that out. And look at Snoopy's items as another thing. In the past, sometimes we've seen him go Boots of Mobility into an early Oracles and just try to control the map, run around, and get a lot of early ganks off. They haven't needed to do that this game. He's got the double GP10, not even worried about mobility boots, doesn't even have an Oracles yet. CLG EU taking this game extremely slow. They're not trying to force anything because they know they're out farming, they know Wicked has it under control, and they know they have the late game. So really, they're playing a very controlled game here because they don't want to make any mistakes when it's one loss and you're out.
So, see, as it is, very, very tight still. Saigon Jokers, they just need to turn a few things around. CLG, though, definitely feeling comfortable in this farming phase.
So much just farm coming in, and the Nunu Caitlyn is 20 ahead of the Kog'Maw lane, but that's going to happen. Kog'Maw's not necessarily a beastly laner. It's just a matter of they're going to get to late game because Aurelia's way ahead, Froggen's way ahead, and Snoopy has the double GP10 to Violet's Wriggle's Lantern on a Shen. So overall, they're just across the board going to be stronger.
Well, Ballsy playing from Archie here because he's pushing straight for that Infinity Edge, and he's only gone for the one Doran. Berserker Greaves and went straight for the BF, so just picked up the pickaxe as well. Meanwhile, you can see that Yellow Pete's going to be going straight for that Phantom Dancer very early on. So it could be a very strong Archie within, I'd say, about 1,000 gold.
If Archie hits a power spike with that Infinity Edge, once you have the Blood Boil on top of the Infinity Edge, you actually are very, very strong. They have to force something there because there is a mid-game window potentially for Saigon Jokers to try to take out CLG EU. It's just a matter of them getting there and taking advantage of it. Because right now, CLG EU, with all that farming, just looking so, so strong.
Yeah, these are just the details that the pro players really are aware of. As soon as they hit that level, that item difference between the teams, they say, okay, we're stronger, go. Some of these things that I guess you guys at home, even the pro players, some of the pro players maybe coming into it just don't quite mix in there. You see these top high elo players just don't understand why they don't get picked for the teams, why they don't fit in for the teams. Sometimes it is just those small details. I mean, we talked about it earlier. I was talking about it obviously pre-tournament for this one, about Blitzcrank, about Mad Life with Blitzcrank. He's got down the side of his monitor the exact speeds that you're going to run as Blitzcrank with overdrive to catch those hooks. He knows the exact level, the exact speed you can go. These finite details, which sometimes some people may say is just a little over the top, but hey, really. Career of 3-0, both groups at the moment.
Because in all honesty, Blitzcrank's move speed with Mad Life's move speed with Blitzcrank, as Violet gets crushed down by Frog in the mid lane, is very dependent on the enemies. So skill order can change. You might want to put more points in E or Q on Blitzcrank if your W is going to be fast enough to catch the enemies. And we actually haven't seen much Blitzcrank in this tournament, which is just a surprising aside, because he had a crazy effect on the North American regionals. Wouldn't be surprised if we saw some of that tomorrow.
So as it is 2-1 to CLG, 17 minutes coming up. CLG doing what they do best, and that is farming out the game to the late match, as they always do on me, just to make sure my voice is kept tip-top.
Just make sure you cannot talk by the end of it, because they've done a 72-minute game for you. Yeah. But really, Wicked just applying so much pressure down here in the top lane. He is going Trinity Force again. He might even rush it fairly quickly, that one cloth armor. That's just because Jace, so much physical damage going down, and he's not able to turn this around. Looking at Violet again coming up top with Wicked. He's just turning it right around.
What? 2v1. Wicked gets on one. That's going to be the Calvin's ulti. Is it going to do enough damage on towards QDP soon? Wicked doesn't feel he can take him on the turret. Which, you know what? It doesn't matter, because he just 2v1 and took Violet down and carries on farming in lane. He's got a 50 CS difference, and now he is just so strong. That Cheese rocking just at the right time. The Calvin's ulti, I don't even think the Calvin's ulti was required. No. It was just, you know, he'd already killed him, and now it's just going to bash down that turret. The rest of CLG, meanwhile, are grouping up for the dragon. And that's going to be the second dragon of the game, picked up for free by CLG.
Good control by CLG, and so much of it just comes from Wicked's pressure in the top lane. Snoopy hasn't had to successfully gank anyone. He's actually going straight for an Aegis of Legion, still no boots of mobility, which is something very strange for him. Froggen pushing out the mid lane, just Dandy by himself. Everyone's doing their job for Snoopy, so his way of controlling the pace in this game is to just keep farm up and make sure they have it late, because everyone is handling themselves.
Everybody is happy. So first turret of the game goes down. Wicked absolutely dominating that top lane. Dragon been gone down twice now by CLG. 3-1 in kills and 6k goal difference. CLG are looking strong in this game. This would take them to a 2-1 situation, which in itself would immediately make Dignitas go out of the tournament against Merchant Sword. And that would be disappointing, I think, for many Dignitas fans, and it would certainly make the last game a bit of a damn squib.
Well, Dignitas could still have the chance to play spoiler if they went into that last game. Indeed. Because if they were to beat Najin Sword, assuming CLG wins this game, which is still not decided, it could potentially make 3-2-1s. It could make 3-2-1s in that group, so it could force something crazy. Other than that, though, there's just Saigon Dragons has to do something to make it happen, because it seems like they took their win and then got scared. Is what's looking like to me right now.
It would be 2-3-2-1. It'd be 2-1-2-1, 1-1-1-1. No, that can't be.
We'll do it.
No, it can't be. 1-2, 1-2, 1-2. 2-1-2-1, 1-2-1-2. I know what I'm saying, I'm talking about, honest. But nevertheless, let's get on with the match, because it is 19.5 minutes in. We're nearly up to the 20-minute mark. Snoopy is looking like he could go aggressive here on Jace. We have Wicked a long way up lane though. He's put the ward down on the blue. Is he going to come around the back side? You can see that Froggen's trying to poke Violet back there, but he couldn't find QTV instead. And he will just back away. So Archie, meanwhile, has taken that bottom turret down. They're now going to back away. It was a 3-man push on that bottom lane. We didn't quite catch vision of it. We are seeing Froggen just in a farming machine right now. And the rest of Saigon Jokers having to form around and just defend and pick up that red buff.
Here, actually. Froggen could be going for Scar's Carcass farming record here. It was at 24 minutes, 30 seconds, 300 minion kills. To be honest here, he's got 256.
He's picking the wolves up and everything.
And he's picking up the wolves and the raids. If he finds a way to get all the minions here, I can't quite do the math, but he will be really close.
He will be really close. Now he's going to have a 3-man Saigon Jokers trying to prevent him doing that one. Archie's going to go for it here, actually dashing forward onto him. He's got to be careful. The damage coming out is pretty severe. And immediately Crepo comes in, pops that heal down, supports him out. Froggen continues farming his merry way. Oh, scumbag Crepo. Scumbag Crepo steals a minion there. Just comes on by. Don't you know this man's going for a record?
So looking at that, he's got the double GP10. He's maybe just going for his Zeke's Herald, let's be honest. He's just trying to get his item faster. Has nothing to do with this. But just, there's nothing Nixwater can do to stop him from farming. It doesn't seem like there's anything they can do to stop Wicked from pushing in. And this is reminiscent of some of the very old CLG NA games where they would spend 20 or 30 minutes in the lane, get the first team fight, and just win the game off of that because they had accumulated such a huge advantage. They are out-laning Saigon Jokers. This is what Saigon Jokers had to avoid. They have to force fights frequently, and they're just not doing it right.
Yeah, and they've sat on top of Wicked's head, and honestly, he's already got Trinity Force, he's nearly got the Guardian Angels, that's going to be the next move, and then he's just going to move towards probably the Bloodthirster or the Black Cleaver like we saw earlier on in the day. And as it is, CLG, well, Froggen, you're going back. You're not going to get no records when you go back. He is close. 278 in just shy of 22 minutes. 25 minutes, you're saying?
24 minutes and 30 seconds.
24:30. Okay. Skara, are you watching? Your record could be up in tournament play. And I know there'll be people sat at home going, oh, I can do better than that. Well, that's all well and good, but you're not playing against some of the best players in the world right now. If he could do it, we're seeing a bit of a grouping over here from Saigon Jokers, possibly going to go for this mid-turret here. Archie and Nixwater all around the mid-turret. You can see that Violet is also joining the party. Going down the bottom, going to keep on farming down there. Froggen continues his farming duties. And Wicked is actually, you know, he's not really been involved at the moment. He hasn't needed to. He's quite happy to just solo in that bottom lane, top lane, sorry.
Sorry, I was mesmerized by the creep score game there. I'm sorry, man. I was trying to see.
You're focused in it. He's going to hit it. He's at 292. He's 22.5 minutes in. There's going to be no problems.
Oh, here comes an ultimate. Where's it going?
Where is the Captain's ultimate going? He managed to get QTP. Meanwhile, Violet's also taken down very low. We didn't manage to catch that one, but QTV was certainly taken down. So while he's picking up the farming record, he's also picking up the kills. And now Wicked on Violet there. Snoopy fail, flashing off the side there. That's not going to work out. And Wicked's like, oh man, I'm just going to have to back off. But it doesn't matter because 299 now.
That one creep the Crepple stole from him mid, he could have had it in sub 23 minutes.
He could have had it sub 23 minutes instead. There's no minions there. He's going to have to go get the Wolves instead. And it is going to be within 23 minutes, 10 seconds, 300 minions. Wow.
Unreal farming by Froggen right there. I'm just going to, that's something I don't think we've ever seen before.
Look at him. He knows it. He knows it. He's loving it. So Froggen just continues to farm. I mean, how much can he break?
There's no stopping now.
There's no stopping.
You hit 300. They know they have the team fights. It's just a matter of they're patient enough to let Saigon Jokers come to them. It's a matter of when they think they're 100% strong enough, they're going to force in. They have the tools for it too. Wicked can dive in. Snoopy is amazing with Maokai diving in. They have the flash crescendo if they really need it. It's just going to materialize once they decide to go, and I feel like they're just going to mop the floor at that point.
Yeah, Wicked's now got Guardian Angels. I feel they're now thinking, right, it's time to fight. You've hit your mark. You should be happy now. You farmed it up. We've got Guardian Angels. We've got Trinity Force. Let's go get some kills. So they're going to steal away the blue buff. That's going to be the first goal they're going to go for. And Nunu's got to be careful. Judy's going to walk straight around, face first in towards this one. And Aurelia can just turn straight onto it. He takes a little peek towards there, and immediately they back away. Doesn't matter. They've already picked it up. Snoopy with the blue buff. And we can see still down that bottom, Shen's going to try and split push. But honestly, I think Saigon Jokers have left it a little late for that split push.
They really have, because there's so many people in the game right now that can solo Violet. Wicked, you saw it, killed him in about 2 seconds when he tried to gank up top lane. There's no way he can take on Froggen with all of that farm. And it's just, they're not finding ways to create action. They just got stale with their playstyle a little bit, and it's really unfortunate for them.
It is a little unfortunate. They tried to sit on Wicked, and it backfired. You know, Wicked just went, fine, you're going to bring players to me, I'll get more kills, thanks a lot. 0-3-1 at the moment. Jace, he hasn't been able to complete any items. You can see he's just struggling. He got that blue flash earlier on. Looks like he's going to go for Bloodthirster. Violet tried to get in there. Violet's in trouble now. He just dashed across. He should be able to flash away from this one. Are they going to follow through? Nobody's going to dunk in. And they're just going to let him back off. And CLG pick up another dragon.
And this is a moment where CLG, if they want to, can try to force around Baron. They know a couple members just showed bottom. They know that Shen burned his flash. They have an Oracle's Elixir on Snoopy. They're going to be able to get down all these wards and just either force Saigon Jokers to come to them around Baron, or they're going to be able to take the Baron themselves.
You know, something's just dawned on me that all these sticks that people have got, nobody's actually figured out that they did glow if you just pull the badge out. I've not really seen them glowing unless they did it earlier on in the day and the battery's completely dead by now. But I was expecting to see the crazy flashing already everywhere. But let's get back to the game. Meanwhile, you can see them
Junie
taking a peek in. Wicked will get catch out. Junie just completely caught out of position there. And he just got squashed.
So CLGU now, they picked up the Junie kill. They know that Shen's trying to split push. This is a force that might not be a very good time to force. Having the split push is really just making CLG go for Baron, but they can take that anyway. They're trying to push up mid. Giving up Baron for the mid tower is not going to be a good trade. CLG will be able to roll through after this. They're going for it though. CLG might try to collapse on them.
They need to back off, and they're actually carrying on up the mid lane. This is a bad call from Saigon Jokers. They need to back away from this one right now because CLG are hoarding in behind them. They have to be on the move, and they are not backing off. There we go. The accelerated gate goes in. They did a very quick job there, taking 2 turrets down. Can they make the third one? They're going to try and push across. Violet's on there. The rest of CLG are collapsing down the river, though. Let's have a look down the bottom. You can see they're going to walk straight into it. There's Wicked straight on towards Archie. That's the first target he's going to see. Twisted advance comes in. That's going to be the Carthus ulti. Should drop 1, 2. Snoopy's going to try and get away from it. Snoopy goes down. That's an Oracle drop. QTV gets dropped. Crescendo goes across. And that's going to be Wicked. Guardian Angel pops. Violet's going to drop down as well. And it is just Junie, the only surviving member. And now they're just going to turn things around. But they did manage to take down Snoopy in there. And I believe an Oracle drop.
Still a good rundown by CLGU. They don't mind about the Oracles. He has enough gold picking. They have enough form advantage. They've taken enough turrets, dragons, barons, and now they're just pushing on really strong. Froggen just making sure, split pushing, getting as many minions as possible. He wants to hit 400 before this game's over.
Could go 400.
But CLG really turning it back on. They had that rough getting destroyed by Najin Sword, and they're really just pushing through strong for Saigon Joker's inhibitor here.
Yeah, and they could easily continue going. The spawn's only just coming out. They're going to take the inhibitor turret. Can they take the inhibitor on the back of it? They'd have to be quick. Now they're just going to back away. Wise choice there. 368 minions. We'll keep you up to date on that. It might well happen sooner or later because Froggen continues on. I don't think he'd be too happy about Yellow Pete coming in and stealing 2 of those, that's for sure.
That is an unreal amount of minion kills for 27 minutes. It's 100 more than we have like minutes in the game. If you think 10 per minute, it's so much farm, and this is a team effort, honestly, to get someone that many minion kills. Snoopy deferred so much of his jungle for this. They just allowed him to farm. They gave him blue buffs. They took the dragons. They just controlled the map. And all the attention that Wicked was pulling up top from Violet made it so Froggen was never getting ganked by Shen or pressured in almost any way. And it's just a group effort, just team accomplishment, all the objectives, very good play by CLG EU.
Yeah, now we've got to the point that Yellow Pete's also got their Infinite Sheds backed on top of that Phantom Dancer. He's going to be shredding people alive as they manage to get into those team fights. And of course the damage coming out from Wicked is already pretty damn high. So CLG definitely looking their old self here. 9-2 up and a massive chunk of gold. I mean, that's what, 14k, 15k gold. Very huge. 385 CS for Froggen, just farming his way to victory. Almost like CLG NA used to do. Just farm their way to victory. You'd expect to see Hot Shot on that top lane. Something CLG definitely have picked up, and they're working very well with it. Wicked's going to go diving in there towards Nick's Sword. You can see the Black Shield pop. They're just trying to keep CLG away from them, but it's not enough. And Wicked's going to flash engage it. Goes straight in. The Froggen ultimate coming across. There goes the Crescendo. Wicked's just baiting it out here. He's quite happy to get dropped down. He's going to pick up kill after kill after kill. And Yellow Pete there with the Infinity Edge, just shredding apart the inhibitor. They have 4 on 2 now. They could push this one through. You know, they could go for the finish right here. They've got a creep wave coming through. They should go for the Nexus Surge. Yellow Pete is going to come in. He's just going to pop it. They're going to go on towards Archie. Twisting advance on towards Archie. Archie gets dropped in seconds by Froggen. That's going to be the turret. That's 1 Nexus. And they're going to get the 2nd Nexus. And CLG are going to be going through shortly 2-1. And that's Saigon Joker's going down. But what a fantastic performance from CLG this time around. There's Crepo. That's what it means to them. They're in the quarterfinals.
Solid play there. They just took control of the game. It's a throwback to CLGU. That's how they want to play. They did not get pushed around. Everyone held their lane individually. Great team play, good effort, good communication. It's not easy to play, honestly, that passive and safe because there's so much you need to prevent from happening. CLGU, the best at it.
Yeah, and Saigon Jokers, you know, they put themselves a good showing at this tournament. They've pulled out definitely a surprise against Dignitas. Dignitas were not expecting that one. And well, CLG are there. Yes, you've done it, Snoopy and Froggen. Well, very much well done. And, well, just an insane amount of farming from Froggen there. So what was the official count? I think it was like
396 in a 29-minute, 40-second game. And that was with those pushes down at the bottom. If he would have wanted to, he would have been well over 400.
He would have, but they decided to finish the game instead.
I mean, taking the victory and moving on in the World Championships, I think it's worth it.
It's worth it. It's worth it indeed. So, you know, the Vietnamese team, they've put in an absolute grand show in here. Everybody kind of expected them 0-3 without being, you know,
it's amazing
bad
showing,
against them.
to be honest.
That's what they expected. But they pulled out a fantastic victory against Dignitas. It's what they thought they could do. So let's take a look at how this group is affected right now. You can see CLG should well be there. They are 2-1 up. You can see Saigon Jokers 1-2, which means that is going to be in. Naj and Sword are effectively qualified. They could lose this game,
right.
But the question is, and they beat CLG EU already, so they would be top in the group regardless.
I think that's the way it would work. And Team Dignitas really, they can win this game. It's going to show that, hey, we're actually really good. We're not supposed to go 0-3 in this group, and they don't want to go 0-3 in this group. Dignitas came into this really confident, so they can still try to take out Najin.
Definitely pride on the line right now. Definitely something they have to look at. So, I mean, now we can start looking really at how the tournament is going to play out. We know already the 2 quarterfinals. If you missed them earlier, it is the Zubu Frost versus Team Solo Mid and Invictus Gaming versus Moscow 5. Now we're seeing CLG EU getting second place in the group regardless, which means they will be on the side with Zubu Frost and Team Solo Mid, which means Najin Sword will be on the side with Moscow 5 and Invictus Gaming.
And it's actually pretty awesome brackets if you think about it. Because
it's pretty damn awesome.
I mean, TSM's on a separate side from M5 for the people who want to see that matchup. We have, I had this in my head, we have both Korean teams on separate sides. CLG EU and Moscow 5 can be on separate sides.
So the European
if we
team separate, Korean team separate, Chinese teams could be separate. We don't know which way World Elite is going to fall and Taipei Assassins are going to fall. Those draws will be coming up. That will be after the next game, which will be Najin Sword versus Team Dignitas. But honestly, was that the CLG of old? Are we seeing them making a return? Because I was a little bit worried after their performance against Najin Sword, and they kind of, I think they were a little bit surprised as well.
It's strange because in the 2 games that CLG EU has won in this group against Dignitas and against the Saigon Jokers, they looked really, really good. They looked borderline just unbeatable because they played they just played their style, and it didn't seem like the other teams could do anything to disrupt it. But when a team could do something to disrupt it, they just destroyed them. It was the biggest stomp of the group, was the game that CLG lost to Najin Sword. So
I wonder when these teams are going to start listening to us. Because, you know, I'm thinking back to IEM Kiev, when Moscow 5 broke into the scene. Well, I mean, effectively, they broke into the scene in the qualifiers. But when we were watching that, we were saying, you need to be banning out Shivana, Gangplank. And at the time, it was... Who was the third one?
Gangplank, Shivana, and, I mean, they did play a lot of Lee Sin.
There was, Lee Sin, of course. Diamond Prox on Lee Sin. How could I forget? You still need to ban that. But we've been talking about you need to ban Kane. You need to take out Sona. Is that? Do you think they're legitimately going to actually listen to us? But let's take a look at the replay of that last push, and you can see, honestly, it was pretty one-sided to this point.
How far ahead CLG is. There's no inhibitor down. There's not even flashes in to go for this. He's on his own 1v5. Look at how much damage that Karthus ultimate did in there. Junie pops his new ult, but he's level 8 or 9. He doesn't have the damage. Wicked died mainly to the double tower shots. You can see the goal lead in that was over 15,000. They had the Baron buff ticking on them. It was just a matter of an unstoppable farming force just eventually just crushed through. They waited until the absolute point where they knew they couldn't lose a fight, and then they ended.
So, I mean, how would you counter it? I mean, well, obviously we saw what Najin Sword did. They countered it with pure aggression. And that seems to be the way. That is how Moscow 5 do it. Funnily enough, when we were talking to CLG, they were like, we'd be happy to get Moscow 5. They're easy.
Well, just look at the teams. Look at the teams that have beaten CLG EU in the past, right?
Yeah.
Moscow 5, when Moscow 5 beats them, they had the Gragas that was roaming around. They had the Shen ult with, I think, Nocturne. It was that kind of 5-man Pier composition where they just destroyed them in the bottom lane of ECC Poland. When they lost to Najin Sword, it was really just the team in MacNoon fast pushing, crushing down, getting global gold advantages.
Bottom lane was crushed.
And then even the other team that's beaten them, Azubu Frost on LAN, even though that was a much closer affair, they did it with pretty much all-out aggression.
And it was CLGs that actually threw it away. I mean, the third game, if I'm going to think correctly now, where it was Wicked on Jace, actually where he went into the bush. That's when he got caught out of the Baron. And that's the key point. That was the key turning point where they thought they got caught out and they just snowballed. Now, this is a situation they could be in tomorrow. It's going to be a best-of-3 situation, all the quarterfinals and the semi-finals, best-of-5 in the final. But it's one of those things that they could, they've got to be careful. If they lose that one game, they don't want to get down on themselves. I mean, a lot of the teams are in the same situation, effectively. But, we've seen in Zubu Frost, they obviously don't get down on themselves. They lose that one game, they rally. Najin Sword, they've done exactly the same thing. They did it against the Zubu players in the finals to get here in that crazy blind pick 5th game.
So much of it is just kind of your attitude, and I think CLG EU is and has been growing into that.
Yes.
We even talked to them after they got obliterated by Najin Sword, and I know talking with some of the other teams, when you lose a game that hardly, you start raging at each other, you start blaming each other. You say, you should have called us back, you should have said you were going to lose that tower, and they just start back and forth, they get people down, they start tilting. But CLG EU, when they lost that game, were just kind of like, yeah, we played bad. We didn't do things right as a team. And it was more of the group and playing together and living together in the gaming house helps with that sort of thing. And they don't tilt and collapse on each other. They can individually realize their mistakes and improve upon that, which really helps them and will definitely help them best of 3s if they drop another game.
So let's look forward to tomorrow, and let's see what could possibly happen. A Zubu Frost versus Team Solar Mid to start with.
So Zubu Frost versus Team Solar Mid.
I'm not saying we don't know what day, what time of the schedule these are set. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, you guys at home, you may be looking at Liquipedia and going, "Oh, this is when it's happening." The brackets are not set yet. Things may change. Keep your eye on the schedule.
The matchups from the first group are set, but not the exact time.
We don't know the exact time of who's going to be playing where. So, don't get that locked in just at the moment. But coming up next, we're going to have the final group of game. It is going to be Dignitas versus Najin Sword. We will be back in a few moments, ladies and gentlemen. Do not go anywhere. It's the last game of the day.